Hi everyone, my name is Leonore and welcome to Soul Searching Tarot. It's a channel where I like to integrate both tarot reading and astrology. Um, I am doing free readings at the moment, so please take advantage of it. My information is in the description box, so you could email me. My Facebook pages and Instagram pages are up. But definitely take advantage of the free reading. Okay. Today I'm going to be talking about Pisces, my Pisces collective. What's up, Pisces? Oh my God, I love Pisces. Love Pisces. I have a great relationship. They're like my water, brothers and sisters. My water signs. Pisces is a water sign. Neptune rules Pisces. But before I totally begin into like the Pisces, I want to explain a little bit about how I break up my videos. Some people may be confused about it, but usually I do 2 to 3 parts of a sign. Pisces, I could be talking about sun sign in Pisces, moon in Pisces, even your Venus in Pisces, your Uranus in Pisces. I think, to me personally, the four most important planet placements in each house are sun, obviously, your sun sign, which is the day you were born, your moon sign. We go through a moon cycle every 31 days, by the way. So that's pretty important. Venus and Mars. Venus is the passion, the love. Mars is your drive, the action that you take. So those four are very important to know. So if you have Pisces in any of those four, that's fine. My Jupiter is in Pisces, so this reading could pertain to honestly any placement that has Pisces in your birth chart. So birth charts are very important. I will leave the link on how to find your personal birth chart. I usually do. Sometimes you can't click on it, but you could always copy and paste it. It's definitely a great site to go to. So my first part are always about the insight and the astrology part of your sign, as well as other aspects and factors that may affect your sign and planet, or all of us as a human collective. We'll love to talk about the Age of Pisces a little bit because I just did a video on the bloodline and the ages. And that had a lot to do with the Age of Pisces, because you cannot go into the Age of Aquarius, which we are in right now at this very moment, without knowing what happened in the Age of Pisces. And so I did a video on it, but I would like to go in depth about it now, and maybe a future video about it as well. My second and third parts usually are about the reading. So if you're not interested in the first part, you want to click off, that's fine. I mean, I'm just giving you information about your sign. But if you want to go into the reading, for example, those cross watchers, the second and third part are usually all about the reading, okay, my tarot reading. All right, so Pisces, what does Pisces represent? So your planet is Neptune, okay? It is the planet of redeeming. Pisces represents emotions. It is a water sign, like I said. It represents secrecy. It also, the emotions part of it, by the way, the emotional part of Pisces are usually emotions that are not easily expressed. Even though water signs are all about emotions and stuff like that, they have different ways of expressing it or internalizing it. In Pisces, they have a very hard time expressing their emotions. doesn't mean they do not feel. They are actually very intuitive people, spiritual healers at some point, especially if they have evolved in this journey of life. I also call them the barrel of the zodiac sign. I used to call them the trash can or something, the trash pail, but that didn't go very well. So I was like, okay, what I meant was you guys are the barrel of every sign. Now remember, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It is the 12th house. There's only 12 zodiac. You folks embody every sign. You are carrying every sign. Okay? For example, the second house is Taurus. Taurus will carry some traits, one or two traits of Aries. They will. It'll carry over onto Taurus. Gemini will carry a trait or two from Taurus. Cancer will carry a trait or two from Gemini, and so forth. And so by the time we get to Pisces has embodied all 11 zodiac signs, including their own, mind you. So you guys are the barrel of the zodiac signs. You guys, I'll go into detail about it, but there is so much more about that aspect of your sign, because in tarot, you guys are represented by two cards, and that's the Hanged Man and the High Priestess. And I want to go into a little detail about that, because you guys will embody the outside world and eternalize it within, and sacrifice yourself for the greater good. That's all about the Age of Pisces. Among other things, of course, but one of the things. So what did the Age of Pisces bring? And and I'm just saying this, I'm not saying this is your sign, folks. I want to just, I'm not really digressing, but I want to know, I would just want to let the human collective know that how important the Age of Pisces was, because it brought in scientists, mathematician. And when I say scientists, it brought a whole bunch of scientists is just the umbrella of other things, we're talking about physics, NASA, it brought all, when I say scientists, it's just an umbrella of because scientist is very broad, right? But it also was the age of mathematicians, artists, comedians, religious figures, a lot of religious figures, social and political consciousness, big time. Also poets, spiritual mentors and gurus. Pisces is spirituality. It is the planet of spirituality. That's one of the things, okay? One of the things. Historians, what else? Explorers, all right? That you saw that in a lot in the Age of Pisces. Also, it does represent the taboo. And the taboo could be saints. It could artifacts such as symbols that may represent demonic, representation of something that is taboo. Like I said, voodoo, for example, is one of them. That all represents Pisces, the magicians. It's like under Pisces. Not just the Age of Pisces, but just also Pisces, okay? All right, so I want to talk about so much to talk about, but I usually not I don't do this for all signs, but I usually bring like a tarot card since my channel has a lot to do with tarot as well, for entertainment purposes. I have two of the. Sorry, I know it's a glare. This is from a whole deck that I'm not going to use to read Pisces today, but I took this from another deck. And this is the Hangman version in this tarot deck. Usually the tarot deck for the Hangman version is a man or a woman. It doesn't mean it's a man or a woman, it's just energy. So it's feminine or masculine energy, which we all of us embody. Is usually hanging or suspended from a tree or a cliff. But in this deck is pretty interesting because Pisces is is known to, especially the Hangman, especially known to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. That's what Pisces was also, the Age of Pisces was about too. I talked a little bit about how Jesus Christ was an historical religious figure that was crucified to save the human race, right? Gandhi is another one. He almost died trying to save his people from mistreatment. So he sacrificed himself for the greater good. Martin Luther King, it's another figure that was assassinated, but the responsibility that man had in the civil rights movement, in the era of the civil rights movement, has changed history, the course of history. He sacrificed himself for the greater good, right? And that's what the Hangman is about. The hanged man, sorry about my grammar. It's the hanged man. Does the same thing. This man that you see right here, this energy, represents wisdom, spirituality, sacrificing his eyeball. You see how he's blind? It's like he almost took his eyeballs out. It's almost like, I'm here for your eyes. I'm here to save. These are eyeballs, by the way. I don't know if you could see it. It's a very interesting picture of the depiction of the Hangman in this card. He's on a cliff. He has his little water with him. But he's here to really look at the outside world and absorb it within, so that he could heal these other people that are looking for enlightenment. And that's what the Hangman is about. The Hermit card represents Virgo. I've spoken about the Hermit and the Hangman kind of almost being the same. They're both very spiritual beings, and it's not a surprise because Pisces, your polar opposite, is Virgo. So the fact that Virgo is the Hermit card and Pisces is the Hangman is not a coincidence, because the Hermit does things differently. He escapes society. It's pretty disgusted by society, actually, and tries to just leave, just like sort of how he's by himself. But the Hangman, usually the depiction of Hangman is a man, an older gentleman. Sometimes you'll see an older gentleman in the traditional tarot cards. In the night, holding a lamp or a torch. He ran away from society because he needed to heal himself from within. While the Hanged Man, Pisces, needs to sacrifice himself for the greater good of other people. I hope that made sense a little bit. The other card that represents you is the High Priestess. Same tarot deck, but I want you to look at her. She represents also wisdom, mysticism, empathy, intuition. Now, she's the female pope. This is the High Priestess. There's a High Priest, which is the Hierophant, and then there's a High Priestess. The High Priestess is first in the tarot card deck. There's a reason for that. I don't want you folks to think that tarot reading was just invented like in the 60s. Somebody didn't just wake up and said, I think I'm gonna invent tarot card reading. No, this goes centuries back, like centuries back. The Kabbalah, this part of the spiritual mysticism of the Kabbalah. They believed in tarot. They made up the tree of life. They believed in the tree of life. It's the nature of the relationship. So the 22 major arcanas in the tarot deck, if you know anything about tarot, they're all in order in every deck. It doesn't matter which tarot card deck you're using, which is like hundreds of them. The major arcanas are always in order. The High Priestess is number 2. The Fool is 0. The number 1 is the Magician, and then the High Priestess is number 2, followed by the Emperor. Followed by the Empress, then followed by the Emperor, then followed by the Hierophant, which is the High Priest. So the High Priest is Pisces. It's a Pisces card. It's the moon. This is represented by the moon, whereas he's represented by Neptune, but it's still the same planet. The moon and Neptune, Pisces is the same planet, which is Neptune, but the moon is all about intuition, right? It's all about emotions, right? So this is the High Priestess, which is the female pope. Now, just a little story about the female pope. Fun fact time. There was such a thing as female popes. It did exist in the 12th century. The Roman Church brought in these, what we call in these days, maybe radical or authority figures, to help the Roman Church. The Roman Church at that time was going through a period of decline. So they needed some help from the outside, and these radicals called the Humiliati, they came in and they brought in the second and third order, and they helped the Roman Church basically become what the Roman Church is today, because it was on the verge of decline. Remember, the Roman Church, the Roman Catholic is one of the oldest religions that we have, and so they brought in the Humiliati. The Humiliati stems from a word called humility. Humility because they wore clothes that were very plain Jane, plain Joe cloths. They were not about modern fashion, and they helped the Roman Church become, regain their power, basically, I should say. And the second order were all about the female popes. So they built monasteries, and a female pope was always appointed, just like how it is in today's world, as well as, popes are now appointed all over. It doesn't matter from what monastery it is, but in this case, in this time, in the 12th century, is more Italy. The third order had to do with the male popes. But eventually it all went down, unfortunately. The Roman Church decided to investigate the Humiliati, the second and third order part of it. And they found themselves under scrutiny by the Roman Church. So the Archbishop basically sent St. Charles Borromeo of Milan to investigate, and they were not happy about this. They were examined because there was a conspiracy built against them about the verbal and physical and sexual abuse going on, and they didn't like the fact that they were the only ones singled out. And that's another thing that Pisces represent. Pisces does represent physical, verbal, sexual abuse. It represents pain and pleasure. That's Pisces. So I'm sorry I'm like scattering my representation of Pisces, but if I say it represents your sign, it comes. All signs have their light and shadow sides, so it's not just Pisces. I'm not just singling out Pisces. Don't try to execute me. But we're talking about Pisces, right? Pisces has, the light side that I was talking about in the beginning, and then there is a dark side of what Pisces represents. So eventually, the Humiliati decided to plot against the person appointed to bring down and investigate the second and third order, and they decided to basically an attempt to murder St. Charles Borromeo was carried out. It did fail, but because of this, the second and third order was brought down, and from the sacrifice of the second and third order being brought down, and no more were they picking female popes, and the male popes, the Roman Church decided to stick with their version of how the Roman Catholic belief should be as far as popes. From this came these sisters that built not a monastery, a house. They helped the needy, the neighboring hospitals, the poor, the hungry, and the nuns were created. And they carried out the name Humiliati for up to the 20th century. They opened up 5 more houses in Italy. And that's another person that I should talk about, Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa sacrificed a lot of material wealth to help the needy, the poor, the sick. And that's another person that I wanted to mention too. But speaking about the nuns, that's how basically the nuns were created in the Roman Church. They still have nuns till this very day, and they're still dressed in the same type of cloth. Basically, you'll definitely see them in black, like this black cloth over them, and that's pretty much how it was even in the 12th century, 13th century and beyond. They were able to still hold. The name Humiliati is not used anymore, and if that name does sound familiar, it's because it is. If you're wondering who the first order is, well, that's up to you to figure it out. I'm going to click off and go into part 2. I'm going to start my reading. I hope that I explained the Handmaid and the High Priestess in the way it's depicted in tarot. I hope that helped. Also, your planet Neptune, just really quick, it is transiting, retrograding, and stationing around our planet that are, it is affecting us earthlings here. I wouldn't make decisions about love, especially until next year. But if On the light side, if you're going through some spiritual enlightenment, embrace it, because Neptune is all about enlightenment, spiritual healing. Okay, take it in. All right, see you in part 2.